And hey there, hi there, ho there, and a gracious good Saturday morning to you. Welcome back for another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we bring you the joy and excitement of UofL women's sports, and certainly an exciting week in many ways as Cardinal women's basketball got underway. And that will be, I think, the vast majority of our conversation today, since that's about the only thing going on in the Louisville women's sports realm that we know of. Certainly some good things, some questionable things, and some downright sad things happened this week. We'll cover them all for you. Got one man down today, Jared Anderson, not with us. He is monitoring us with his mute on and typing in comments. He's helping people to fix their stolen debit card and fraud transactions today. So if any of y'all got any of those, just drop by and see Jared over at the bank there. He'll fix you right up. All right. Also with us today, Jeff McAdams. And Jeff had a very, very slow Friday as well, as I think a lot of us tried to do with the Thanksgiving weekend. So pretty much on the couch watching stuff and using the internet, bud?
Yeah, playing around with some stuff that I have. I've been doing a little bit of work on home automation things. Got a new light bulb that I wanted to play with. Isn't it funny in this day and age that a light bulb is an interesting technology toy? Yeah.
A new light bulb.
Yeah. I realized the other day that my porch lights were all out, so I needed to replace them anyways. Well, okay, let's get something with some fancy controls to it. So, yeah.
There you go. Boy, it couldn't get any more exciting than
I know, right?
changing a light bulb,
That's
doesn't it?
what a thrilling day it was. It sounds so bizarre, but yeah. It was kind of fun,
Yeah, hey, if it kept you entertained, pal, more power to you.
Well, part of it for me is that I'm, as a technology guy, that I'm diving into it and wanting to do a lot of customization and stuff. So that's where it's more than just screw in a light bulb, set it up in a smartphone app, and go for me.
So how many applications does it take Jeff to put in a light bulb? I guess that could be a new joke.
Just one. Yeah. I was a little annoyed that I had to use it, actually, but yeah.
Just don't get your fingers too close to the bulb when it's on, Jeff.
Yeah.
Otherwise you might...
Well, it's LED. It doesn't get that hot.
There you go. See, he's got all this stuff already planned out and
That's
designed. Right. And it's just, all I do is just screw it on all those light bulbs that people say you shouldn't use anymore, and I've still got a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Case Hoskin's with us as well. Case, how was your Thanksgiving holidays?
It's pretty good. Just had some food and sat around. I mean, it is pretty much the same thing. We actually did a Zoom call with my family on Thursday night, and we played Pictionary. You can add a whiteboard on Zoom.
Nice.
So we played Pictionary with my sister and her family. So that was fun. But other than that, just kind of relaxed. Thought about mowing yesterday because it was a really pretty day, but didn't do that. Probably won't do it today either. Yeah. I ordered another wheel for the lawnmower that broke in the pretense that I would eventually mow for the last time before the end of the year, and
Well, what a bizarre
I just don't feel like it.
season that we're still having lawns mowed at the end of November.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. You always need to get that late November cut in, though. It's very important so you can get the rest of that gas out of that lawnmower.
That's true. I do have. Actually, it's funny because I went to go get gas for the lawnmower. The lawnmower doesn't have gas in it, but now my gas tank is full. So
it will transfer over easily. Yes, we've done that before too in past years. As for me, I didn't do a whole lot. We went to Sister's house for Thanksgiving dinner. Had a great time with her daughter, her kids, and unfortunately this morning Sonia woke up under the weather. So I'm hoping that I won't come down with whatever she's got, because it was pretty much after she got rather unpleasant. I just threw her back in bed and said, cover up and I'll check on you at about noon. So hopefully she's not doing good. Just no fever or anything, which is good. but her belly not be cooperating with the rest of her body. So you know how that goes. But
That
all
actually
things good there.
might be good news, given that's not particularly, to my knowledge, a symptom of COVID.
Yeah, I looked.
Right.
I did check to
So-
see.
Just food poisoning. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So
Blame your sister.
Yeah.
I
Blame
gotta
your sister
wonder.
for what she made on Thanksgiving.
I'm going to put it as the actual stuffing that was inside the turkey. Maybe was the cause of this. I don't know. And I did learn one important thing, that if you serve stuffing that is inside the bird, it is stuffing. But if you serve something outside the bird, it is known as dressing
Dressing. Yeah.
and not stuffing. There is a designated difference between the two there. So, all you budding chefs out there, put that in your memory banks, and you can use it later when you're flipping burgers. But
I'd rather have mashed potatoes, but
we had mashed potatoes as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I
Also
think it's
had,
semantics.
yeah.
a very good sweet potato casserole too, which was
How
delicious.
not big on sweet potatoes.
Oh, you would like this one. It was just like whipped mashed potatoes, basically, with
Yeah.
a little orange. It was good. Turkey and ham, as we traditionally do each year. So, I wasn't a food dither Friday, but enjoyed watching many things on television and internet and such. Followed up on some basketball, watched some football, and then mistakenly thought that the Cards football team was playing at 4 o'clock today or yesterday. Was going frantic trying to find it on television, and then all of a sudden I checked the schedule, and guess what? They play today at 4.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird ones because they were originally scheduled to play yesterday against Boston College.
Yeah.
And when they switched the schedule, they moved it to Wake on Saturday. And then when they switched back to Boston College, they were like, well, we already kind of gave up the TV slot. So how about
Yeah.
Saturday?
Plus, you've
Yeah,
got just time is weird this year, right? It's throwing everybody off for all kinds of things.
Space and
Yeah.
for sure, yeah, it is.
There was a men's basketball game at 4 too. So
I did listen.
wanted those to overlap.
I kind of missed Paul Rogers, but I understand he's up in Boston getting ready to call the game on the radio today, and was able to be at the KFC Yum Center. But the Cards squeaked one out there, just in a brief men's note. When in this thing, like when the guy got fouled on a 3-point attempt and Seton Hall was down by 3, he hits the first 2 free throws and the third one bounces off, and we grab the rebound and we win by 1. That's a win. We'll take it, but certainly you got to feel bad for Billy Donovan and that Seton Hall team over there.
Do you mean it's not Billy Donovan? It's oh no, I can't think of his name. Kevin Willard.
I said Billy Donovan and I meant Kevin Willard. Oh my God!
It's like, wait a second.
Flashback. Yeah.
Billy Donovan left the
What,
Thunder.
what do you mean? It's not 1989 case? You're kidding me? Huh? Yeah, it is Kevin Willard. So you had to kind of feel sad for them away, but the guy had 3 free attempts there at the line. All he had to do was make all of them, and they were in overtime.
Yeah, I think Quinn Slazinski learned an important lesson. Don't even give the refs the opportunity. It was a ticky-tacky foul call, but
Yeah, it was
I
stupid.
think they're going to call it most of the time, so just
Get there,
don't
right.
do that.
And have a TJ Trainer, redshirt freshman, comes in there and does a really good job at the end of the game to help secure that win for the men's team. So, all right, Chris Mack, good for you. Keep going, bud.
So I'm in the if you're up 3, you foul camp. So
There's an awkward amount of time left. It was like
yeah, it depends on amount of time for sure, but I tend to be in the foul and make them make all 3 shots. There's a lot of people that will miss one of those shots.
I don't know. I mean I don't know how Seton Hall didn't take the lead anyway on their 4 layup attempts before when Louisville was only up by 1, but nonetheless.
That's true, yeah. But anyway, it goes as a W. And you do have a vote from Jared, Jeff, on your initiative. Go ahead and foul around half court and force them to make free throws from the
Yeah,
bottom
so
side.
that's the thing is you foul early when it's not a shooting foul, and they get 2 shots, and you
Yeah,
get the ball
definitely.
back.
But look, if you foul and they miss the second one on purpose and kick it out for a 3, then you lose. So
That's a good argument.
Yeah, but that's hard to get right. So
I
yeah.
I just don't like to see fouls at the end of the game if you have the lead. Why foul the other team when you've got the lead? But anyway, that's
you just got to make sure. You make sure in that
ready.
situation, you foul when you're up 2. They try to bounce a second shot off the brim. You make sure you screen out the shooter, which is that's something that doesn't get coached as much as I think it probably should be anyway. I'm sure Jeff Walls does, but because he really likes coaching and rebounding and boxing out and such. But it's I've seen a lot of teams not do that well, and that was something I learned even playing church ball when I was a teenager. So box out that shooter.
There you
man.
have it.
Yeah.
And hey, we've just spent 11 minutes talking about everything but what we normally talk about here to start the show out. So we're
Basketball
off to
season.
kind of a staggering running start here, but this is the time of the show. Usually, in case we'll do some scheduling and Twitter information for us. So we'll go ahead and take it away, Mr. Hoskins. Go.
Yeah, like you mentioned, football at Boston College today on the ACC Network at 4 p.m. We'll get into this a little bit later, but no Louisville women's basketball game today at 2, as was previously scheduled. Unable to find an opponent for that time slot today. Women's basketball will be back underway, though, tomorrow against Eastern Kentucky. They'll bring them into the Yum Center at 1 p.m. That one will be on the ACC Network Extra or on the radio, so catch that one on the ESPN app, I guess. Then men's basketball is taking on Prairie View A&M at 6 p.m. That one's on Regional Sports Network, so hopefully I get that one on my TV. As we move to December, can you believe it? December already.
Mm-hmm.
Men's basketball taking on WKU on Tuesday the 1st at 6 p.m. That one's on ACC Network proper. Then Friday, the men's team is taking on UNC Greensboro at 2 p.m. on ACC Network. Women have an ESPN slot at the Mohegan Sun Arena at 6 p.m., I think, or 8 p.m., one of those two. Still trying to find somebody to fill that slot on December 4th.
That seems like that would be an easy one to fill. That's a
You
pretty
would
big draw.
You would think.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think is that people, are already scheduled for games that day.
Yeah.
And it's a neutral court. I mean, trying to get people to come to a neutral court when they want to stay.
Yeah, when they haven't planned to travel.
Safer.
Yeah, that does make it a little tougher, certainly. But man, it's a great time slot with likely ESPN coverage for it.
Yeah, ESPN's, if they don't find somebody legit, I think ESPN's probably likely to, if they find, just some Joe Blow team,
Yeah.
ESPN will probably flex them out. But if, they can find a top 25 matchup somehow, then sure, it'd be great exposure for a primetime game on ESPN. Or ESPN2, whichever it's scheduled for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you call Kentucky and see, hey, can you guys come up and fill a slot here because Jeff Walls can't make it? And then, surprise! Hey, Walls is here, and hey, you all can go ahead and play them. Why not?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and let's get this game played on a neutral court this year. But people had all kinds of
See Kentucky's
suggestions.
schedule. That'd be a great option.
Yeah, I'd love to play those two to play in the Mohegan Sun, but I don't know what the Cats have got scheduled, if anything, that day.
Kentucky,
There were people saying-
they play on Thursday and Sunday, so they probably would not want to play on. And it's actually an away game on Thursday at Kansas State, so it'd be tough to get them in there.
So all of these, of course, we'll put the disclaimer out there, provided the teams don't come down positive with the COVID virus and
Everything's tentative.
have to back at it. And it is. And it's
Until that ref throws the ball up in the air, everything's tentative.
Yeah. And
Unless
in
you're
case
Gonzaga.
Yeah, well.
Well, and of course, they don't get sick in Spokane, that is. But we'll go ahead and cover
Not
that in
contagious
more
for them.
detail, Case. Yeah, actually, for sure, and a lot more detail after you do Twitter there, Case. It's weird.
Speaking of Twitter, we talked about how everything's tentative. I made sure to check Jeff Walls' Twitter this morning to see if he had changed his mind about a game today before I wrote my article about missing the Cincinnati time slot.
We're playing the Greater Covington YMCA team. That's right.
Yeah.
Last
So
minute fill in.
I tweet is at best case scenario, BST case scenario. Jeff tweets is at Jeff McAdams and at Card Couple Radio, and Jeff Walls tweets is at Coach Jeff Walls, not Jeff Walls. That's a different random person, as I found out this morning.
Oops.
Paulie tweets is at Cardinal Couple, and Jared tweets is at Mr. Anderson Jared. Then, as always, you can go to the website, cardinalcouple.com, and we have a curated list created there of all the UofL women's athletics and associated Twitter accounts. You can just follow them all in one spot. And I think, Jeff, if you're signed in via Twitter, can you also just follow that list? Is that a thing you can do from that site?
Of us, or of the coaches? Probably. Let me check. I haven't looked at it in a while.
Real time Twitter list. I think you can add it to your Twitter if you're one of those people who uses lists. I am not a person who uses Twitter lists, but that's where we are.
And I think there is a Walls. I think his first name is Jeff, though. That was either a congressman and ran for president on the Republican side, going up against Trump. But I don't think his first name was Jeff. But there was a Walls that did that, because I teased Coach a couple times about that. How are you going to have time to coach this program if you're running for president? But
this is just a random guy from San Francisco. It looks like hasn't tweeted since 2016. So hey, give up your Twitter account. Let's get Jeff Walls just at Jeff Walls.
This back when Walls lived out there, he's just, hey, have a little fun, meet somebody down at Fisherman's Wharf, have a couple beers, But, we'll see what happens with all that. Is we have kind of bantied back and forth in our chat group and with others as well.
So yes, you can follow that list. Sorry.
Cool. The Cards have lost 4 games here due to cancellations. All preseason contests. They've made up 2 of them, and I think they're running out of time and maybe options to make up any more than that, although it's certainly still possible before conference play begins. But yeah, okay, so let's just kind of run through the list of those who we will not play here. It's kind of sad, really.
Yeah, so officially, Louisville loses its first game today. Not loses, but misses its first game today. They were able to replace Middle Tennessee on Wednesday, as we've discussed with SEMO, and so far have replaced the Bellarmine game that they had to cancel with UT Martin, which we wrote about. That one was announced earlier this week. But UConn still out there as to whether they're going to be able to fill that Friday night slot next week. Cincinnati, like we mentioned, that one is canceled. So as of right now, if everything goes correctly, Louisville's game tomorrow against EKU will be the only originally scheduled non-conference game that they will play. Jeff Walls does not sound particularly optimistic about this season going swimmingly. Yeah, it was...
asking for your prayers, he is, yep.
Yeah, well, it's no time to be picky. We're all going to be trying to get 13 games. Never mind that we've got 20 scheduled in the conference season.
Right.
It's just, it's nervy. And I think Jeff Walls in particular has already seen, like we mentioned, 4 out of his 5 non-conference games have been affected in some way. And he has been able to reschedule some of them. But, I mean, that hurts for a single team to be taking so many lumps in their schedule already to this point. It's going to be tough. I think everyone's going to start feeling the heat once you get into conference season, when you've got 3 or 4 games scheduled a week. And, if there's a positive test, then that's 3 games just out the window that you won't be able to reschedule because there won't be time to fit them back in later.
Yeah, because if you look at it, we've got out of the 5 non-conference games, basically at this point, unless they pull a rabbit out of the hat and get some others scheduled for this, which, this is the mad scientist. He does some amazing things with that. But, like, if you end up with 3 out of 5, if you think about losing 2/5 of your games and then you apply that to the conference season as well, you're starting to get kind of close to that 13-game point.
Yeah, you're only getting 12. If the
Yeah.
percentage holds, you only get 12 conference games.
Right.
And then if the percentage is tweaked in any way, then yeah, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And if you take a look at the start of this conference schedule too, you have got 4 games in the first 10 days. Starting on the 10th at Duke. On the 13th, you bring in North Carolina. 17th, you bring in Florida State. And the 20th, you bring in Miami. Okay, and then there's 11 days off until New Year's Eve when you go to Duke again for the second time. They were talking about some of the idiosyncrasies of the schedule. For example, why are the Cards playing twice at Duke? What's the deal there? Why can't Duke come here once? There was also a concern that they were having in the ACC or the AAC, excuse me, guys, yesterday when they were talking about programs that having to go on the road twice to play other programs as well. I think Notre Dame's playing somebody twice on the road as well. So kind of a funky kind of schedule there. But right after we play that game against UTM, boom, 4 days later, we got 4 conference games in 10 days, guys. That's
Yeah, and that road game at Duke, followed by a home game against North Carolina 4 days later, and then another road game later in the month against Duke. It's so strange. I can see the road game on December 9th making sense, but then just stay down there, play North Carolina, bring Duke in at the end of the year. There's not a lot of logic that goes into just that part of the schedule. But it's not like, this 4 games in 10 days is some abnormality. They have 4 games in 10 days again later. I mean, you look at the conference schedule in January, and that is just stacked. I mean, they're scheduled to play 6-7 games in January. That's a lot. That's a lot of games that you could miss if you have a potential 14-day quarantine or 8-day quarantine or no day quarantine, depending on how the NCAA decides to do things.
Because look at this one. You start at February 4th, you're at Boston College. And the 7th, you bring in Notre Dame. On the 11th, you bring in Georgia Tech. And then on the 14th, you go to Syracuse. So, it's... But the thing about it is you're playing games, hopefully. The timing may be kind of weird and kind of askew a little bit, but at least they are stepping out there to play. That is a knock on Presswood. EKU shows up tomorrow to play us at 1 o'clock, and they don't test positive. So we'll see how that works for them.
Yeah, let's not pull one like the Ohio State game the other day where the team was sitting on the bus waiting for their test to come back. Turns out they had a positive, and they canceled the game after a 90-minute delay. That's fun.
It's just 2020. It's what we're having to deal with, unfortunately, and it's not a great thing either. And Jared brings up a real good question point there. Here's this: so, how much time do they actually spend in practice scouting and game planning against an opponent, with the uncertainty of actually being able to play the opponent? Okay. Just like, okay, we know everything that MTSU does. Oh, guess what? We're not going there.
Right.
Quick. Is there any film in the last 3 years on SEMO? Get it. No.
Yeah, they were talking about, on one of the podcasts I was listening to, they were talking about how VCU did that with one of the preseason tournaments. They were scheduled to play in some tournament in Tennessee that then got canceled, and Wichita State had to back out of the Bad Boy Mowers crossover classic. TM, send your check here, please, Bad Boy Mowers. But the VCU just took Wichita State's spot. They weren't scheduled to play any of the teams that they're playing in that tournament. They were scheduled to play a bunch of other teams, and it was the first games of the season, so probably spent quite a bit of the preseason practice preparing for all the opportunities that they'd play in that Tennessee tournament, and then just, nope, we're going to play a bunch of different options. So for conference games, at least you've got some prior knowledge, but these non-conference games, and I think you're seeing a lot of teams are getting upset just because there's just so little information that you have, especially when the schedule can change on a dime like this.
This is where your video coordinator earns their pay, right? And let's shout out ours, Lamont Russell. He's a wonderful guy.
Yeah,
So much.
What can you find me in the next 30 minutes
Right?
on SEMO?
Right. And he's a great guy. He's got incredible skills with video editing and
He is the
graphics and
master.
stuff. He's amazing. If you don't follow him on Twitter, he's a lot of fun to follow on Twitter because he comes up with some great stuff. So, but shout out to him for being a great video coordinator for us.
And he certainly does a great job for Louisville, and hope to have him around for a long time. But his star is just starting to rise, guys.
For sure.
So it could be tough to keep him in that type of role because he also is the head coach of the scout team. Those guys that play the Louisville women every day in practice. He's their coach. So
cool.
It's a little busy there, and let's hope he doesn't take to the court with them sometime because I'm pretty sure he would give Mrs. Cochran and Dixon a little battle inside there.
Yeah. He's got some size, certainly. I'm not sure he's allowed to.
Probably
coaching
not.
staff can. I don't know if he's technically considered coaching staff. So yeah.
Well, I've seen Sam Purcell out there acting like a point guard before, but that was probably not an official scrimmage. I like to tease him about that. So point guard.
Yeah, I know coaching staff can, but I don't know about. I don't know if video coordinator is considered part of the coaching staff and would be included in that. So,
part of the staff, but maybe not the coaching staff.
Right.
That didn't should fall in.
Yeah.
Tough to say. We did have a game played earlier this week. It was on Wednesday, the 25th, as we went to the Show Me Center. And what were we going to show you? We were going to show you the number 5 Louisville ranked Cardinals going up against SEMO, Southeastern Missouri, a team that was, I think, picked preseason to come in third in their conference. They had some very talented players back from last year, and we certainly got to see one of them in full form in Tessia Thompson, with 21 points against the Cards. But, guys, this was a game where the Cards kind of struggled in the first quarter. Had a very nice second half where they were able to extend the lead a little more and got out there to where they actually saw that lead disappear in the third quarter down to 6 points. But by the end of the quarter, they built it back up. They only ended up losing that third quarter by 1 point. Or actually went in the quarter by 1 point. Excuse me, I'm wrong there. And then in the fourth quarter, built up the margin a little bit. Some great things in this thing. I think let's first of all start with Olivia Cochran. Man, what a debut she had in a Cardinal uniform, right, guys?
Indeed, she really stepped out. Led the team points, I think 17 points. Had a very fine game, absolutely.
This freshman went 9 for 10 from the free throw line as well, and 8 rebounds. So quite a job for her. Number 44 on the court. Get to know that number. The way I remember that number is I can't think of a Cardinal women's basketball player since the Walls era that has worn that number, but I do remember Cliff Rozier, if you'll remember, on the men's team, was number 44, and of course Hammer and Hank Aaron, baseball great, was number 44 also. So let's hope that Olivia can drop a lot more bombs on them as the season goes on, so to speak. There, we also saw another couple of freshmen play for the Cardinals. Haley Van Lith, good as advertised. Case, what do you think? I thought she played pretty well.
Yeah, she did. She had a pretty good game. You can look at the 2 turnovers and 3 fouls as not ideal, but Louisville had the bakery open on Wednesday evening, I think, with 16 total turnovers. So not that you can point to any one player in particular in leading that stat, but she did finish with 8 rebounds and 13 points in 28 minutes. Like everyone else, kind of struggled from 3, just 1 for 3, but that's better than everyone on the team except for Norika Kona, who went 1 for 1.
It was Haley who hit the first 3-pointer to start the third quarter. We were 0 for first half, 0 for 11 on those.
Yeah, I was looking at the stats that EKU has in their game notes. It's kind of funny to look at team rankings after just one game. Louisville in the 3-point land, over 120th in the nation. 137th in field goals per game, 146th in percentage, and 120th in 3-point defense. So Louisville behind the arc against SEMO. Bad all over. But I would call that more of an anomaly than what will be the rule this year. I think Louisville's definitely going to be a better shooting team than they showed on Wednesday evening, and we might see that as early as tomorrow. But Haley Van Lith, a really good start in her 28 minutes. Second most minutes on the team behind Dane Evans.
And 8 rebounds, all 5'7" of Haley gets in there for 8 rebounds, ties the team lead for those along with Olivia Cochran. So remember, kiddies, it's not about how big you are when it comes to rebounding. It's all about positioning, right? Haley showing that to us. As far as the three-pointers, I mean, how many times this year are we going to see Elizabeth Balagoon and Dana Evans go a combined 0 for 8? I dare not think it'll be again this year, but that was the case down in Cape Girardeau for the Cards. Still a win for Louisville, a good win. Coach Walls was very, very pleased with the defense, and he had great reason to be, because the Southeastern Missouri squad shot a mere 27% against the Cards. That's not so good. They ended up committing 19 turnovers. Here's the stat that I like the most and I try to stress the most. We scored 26 points off turnovers. Southeastern Missouri State only scored 10 points, a 26-10 advantage on turnovers. And that pretty much builds your 74-53 score there, guys. Other aspects of the game, go ahead, guys.
I was going to say it's really critical for Louisville to win those points off turnovers. They only won the turnover battle by 3 points. But then to win the points off turnovers battle by 16, it's really taking advantage of the opportunities that they earned in a way that Southeast Missouri was not able to do.
The Cards, and we've all kind of said they would be rebounding by committee this year. They actually won the rebounding battle 50-36, but it was much closer than that after 3 quarters. Cards, I think, were only about 2 or 3 rebounds, but the Southeastern Missouri squad couldn't find the broadside of a barn, so to speak, in the fourth quarter, going 1 for 12 for a whopping 8% from the floor. They did hit 9 out of 10 free throws. We'll give them credit for that. But the 1 for 10 from the floor in the deciding quarter of the game, guys, it's not going to get you too many cigars, or is it? No, not at all. But, Tessia Thompson, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, is on the all-conference preseason team for Southeastern Missouri State, just had a whale of an outing against us, 31 minutes. She goes for 21 points, also had 8 rebounds, 4 turnovers. I guess you can kind of understand that, but Louisville basically had no answer for her, Jeff, at all.
No, they really didn't. They kind of shut down everybody else, but were not effective in slowing her down. You know, you can win games by doing that. Let the star play their game, but then shut everybody else down. You know, with some teams, obviously that worked fairly well in this case, but it's not a typical sort of strategy for trying to approach most teams.
Yeah, for sure. We saw it a few times. I think last year when someone would go off on the Cards, but we were able to shut down the rest of the team to win. I think the Wake Forest game comes to mind when Ivanka Raza, I think Ivanka Raza had maybe 28 or 30 points against us or something, but the rest of the team had a combined 20 or something, so, and won that one easily. If you can do that, of course, the predicate there is okay, let's just make sure we're doing what we need to do offensively so we can offset what this one person's doing there.
You run the risk of an Asia Dur going for 50.
Right, yeah, 47 or whatever, yeah.
Cards, here's another amazing stat to me, and I hadn't really looked at this one until this morning. We had 34 points in the paint. They had 12. That's pretty amazing.
I was looking at that too. Louisville shot almost 50% from 2-point land. Southeast Missouri shot under 25% from inside the arc. Louisville had 10 blocks, so that probably had something to do with it. But man, that was just brutal shooting from Southeast Missouri from inside the arc. Just
Blocking.
It's not going to win games for you if you can't make it from 2, and you can only make it at 36% from 3.
Yeah, blocking kind of a committee too, with the most coming from Elizabeth Balogun at 3, and spread the rest out among a bunch of other people.
10 to 1 on blocks.
Norika Kono had 2, but otherwise it was individual.
And when you back out the 3-point numbers for the Cards, just to add to what you said earlier, Case, Louisville actually went 24 for 47 from the floor on 2-point attempts. So that's even a little better than 50% right there.
Yeah, I did my math backwards. Yep, just a tad over 50%, not a tad under. Yep.
But certainly, that 3-point shooting, it's going to happen every once in a while. I think you just kind of brush it off. The first game, new settings, trying to kind of get comfortable with your teammates and the passes that they're getting and such. Because, like I said, you're not going to see Balogun and Evans go 0 for 8 again this year from the 3-point line. I'd be willing to put a small sum on that. Yes.
Yeah, and it was good to see Norika Kono drop 1 from 3. She was advertised as that being one of her strengths as a player, and she struggled with it a little bit last year before she kind of dealt with some injuries as well. But she popped out for 1 and drained it, so that's a good start for her. Let's hope there's more of that.
And let's not forget here, Case, this is a Cardinal team that went down there without Kiana Smith, who was made one of the preseason co-captains of the squad. Was a lot of people had her penciled in as for being in the starting lineup. She did not make the trip, and I did inquire as to the reason why, not hearing if Nick Curran had said anything on the radio or not. So I did ask Nick Evans about it, and I got the rather non-committal response. She wasn't available for the game. So, yeah, I kind of figured that since she wasn't there. Yeah. Gee, you think? I thought she was up there eating popcorn in the 4th row, with her mom. No.
I think I heard Nick Curran say on the radio that it was COVID-related, which sounds to me like maybe contact tracing as opposed to a positive test. So
that's what I kind of got into it there. But the minutes were well served by other players. Alana Smith drew the start on it, and then she had a very workman type game. I think she did pretty good for herself there. 7 points, 21 minutes. She seemed to move the ball well, incredibly fast out there. And like you mentioned, she had the 3 steals and only 1 turnover in 21 minutes. So we'll certainly take that effort out of Alana for sure. I was a little disappointed in Liz Dixon. Not greatly disappointed, but a little disappointed just seeing 13 minutes and only getting 2 points. Did have 5 rebounds, though. I think once that they found out that Cochran was having the game that she was having, kind of limited Liz's time a little bit, maybe as Cochran. But on Cochran, when you look at it, had only 18 minutes, so there really wasn't a high post presence in there for a few of those minutes of that game, guys.
Yeah, it was, I would say, a little bit disappointing, not from Liz Dixon, but probably for her, to feel like she was in the catbird seat to fill a role that was being vacated by graduating players, and then just presumably beat out in practice for Olivia Cochran to get the start, and then just couldn't make her mark in the minutes that she got. Like you mentioned, 5 rebounds, but only 2 points, just to get one of Louisville's 10 blocks. She was over from the floor, her 2 points coming from free throws. So, that's not what we were hoping to see as far as an evolution during the offseason from her, for sure.
First game, maybe she'll work her way back into it a little bit, but I did notice she's still got kind of a heavy-handed sledgehammer touch underneath that basket when going in there to either put back shots or take shots from inside the paint. Still not a whole lot of touch there. Maybe it was just first game jitters, but everybody who made the trip played and got in at least a total of 8 minutes or more. I was certainly pleased to see that Mikasa Robinson, 19 minutes, came in She doesn't look like she's lost a thing from last year. In there scrapping the whole way. Got herself 4 rebounds in the contest, 4 assists in there. Unfortunately, a couple of fouls there, 3 fouls and 2 turnovers. But she also had 2 steals. So, well, when Costa turns on the Jets, anything can happen, right? So we look at what is going to be the mode for this team, and as Jeff Walls joked after the game, anybody who plays in the future against us will start out in a 2-3 zone and make us prove we can shoot 3-pointers. You know, if I was the EKU, I'd certainly be practicing a 2-3 zone or a 1-3-1 stretch zone right now to play against the Cards for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you make them prove it, right? At this point, you got one game where under your belt at this point where we shot terribly from 3. You know, you come out in a zone and say, hey, if you prove you can do this, then we'll switch to something else, maybe a little more conventional sort of defense. But hey, you got to show us you can make it happen first.
Certainly,
yeah. You do have to be careful though if you do that.
Right. You got to be ready to switch.
Dana Evans is a career 43% shooter.
Right.
E. Balogun, career 32%. You know, it's not like Louisville's going to do that often.
No, but you have to be prepared to switch to something better suited to what you expect of the team. But I think you start out that way. You say, all right, let's see you do it before we switch into something a little more normal.
Yeah, I would think that you maybe start out, but if they nail like the first 2 or 3 on you
right.
that they attempt,
sure. At that point, you switch back.
It's time to get on out of that zone pretty quickly and not allow them the wide open looks out there for sure. One of the things that I really thought about the Southeastern Missouri team that impressed me, they could really, really put on defensive pressure once Louisville got the ball down past the half-court line. They came out and really pressured our players really well, and I think that's going to bode them well as they proceed on into their play and into their season. But also kind of a trivial fact there that Jeff Walsh's wife, Lauren, grew up 12 miles away from Cape Girardeau. That was brought out in the broadcast, so hopefully some of her family and friends were able to come in. I don't know if she made the trip or not with, the traveling jitters that everybody's got these days because of COVID and such. I doubt she brought the 2 little ones with her to the contest, but certainly the family's in the area, so there you go. All right, so Cards will move on now, Sunday. They go to bring in the EKU Colonels, and I guess we'll go ahead and just before we even get into that, let's go ahead and get our predictions on that one. Just to kind of backspace a second, Jared won the last prediction on this game. Of course, he was predicting for Middle Tennessee State,
right,
like we all were, and we ended up playing SEMO, but he did win that prediction, getting closest to the score.
We agreed in group chat that we would keep our predictions
did indeed
from MTSU and apply them to SEMO. So
it's just changing one 4-letter directional school to another.
Yeah. Well, we went from a directional to a double directional. So
I'm looking at it, and it was close.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at total points off. I'm gonna do some math. You keep going. I'm gonna challenge. I'm gonna challenge the win by Jared. Hold on.
Case has got the white flag out, and it's on the field, so we're going to go under review. But against EKU, the Cards certainly, I think, have at least been able to see them in action play a game via videotape and such. A game where EKU didn't really have a great outing, but certainly gives each team an idea of what they've got. And of course, Sam Williams, head coach EKU, very familiar with the KFCM Center, very familiar with the majority. Well, maybe it's not the majority anymore, but very familiar with some of the players on this team.
Well, even the ones that she didn't help coach here, I'm sure she had a hand in recruiting them. So she's
Very
seen
heavily
them
involved.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's got definitely a step up on knowledge there of what Louisville can bring whoever they've got out on the court personnel wise. So it could be interesting to see how they do. And Jared's already he's monitoring from the bank. He must be having a slow day denying loans because he's already got his request in here. On the score, he's going 85-55 Louisville over EKU. And that's the Jared Anderson pick on it. So we've got that then. Jeff, are you ready to venture one on this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna give a little more credit to Sam Williams' team in her coaching. I'm gonna say 87-65, a little bit closer.
87-65, seeing the Cards scoring well on this one. Okay. I think Case is still researching, so I'll jump in.
I'm here. Yep. I don't know if I won the prediction because I don't remember what your all's predictions were last week, but I do know that I beat Jared because I was only off by 20 points and closer on the final margin. Jared was not even close. I think he was saying that he was gonna be close if the first quarter held, and then the second quarter happened, and it was kind of all bets off there.
Well, I know I was way off because I had the Cards scoring 100, so I was not in it at all.
Yeah.
I was only off by a total of 20 points.
I broke out of the game. How did Jeff do?
65. Jeff, what did you claim? I don't even remember.
I don't remember. Paulie, you wrote them down, right?
I'm trying to find that sheet.
Yeah.
Lost it somewhere on his desk.
I'm backpedaling here furiously, guys, to figure out what I wrote.
I thought I did fairly well with it, but I don't recall exactly what I said. So.
Oh gosh, this could be a second here, but
professional show that we have here.
Yeah.
And I told myself this morning I gotta find that sheet where I wrote.
I think it was like
fixed in.
86.
So I will know them. And
86.50 something maybe I think is what I said. That puts me pretty good.
Close.
Yeah.
Jeff's gonna be close.
I've got prep work for everything for the past 2 weeks here, but nowhere in this mess of papers can I find where I wrote those scores down. Sonya probably took it to the store with her and bought it.
I'm gonna give Jeff the win based on his vague recollection of his score prediction.
With the caveat that it is very vague, so I could be misremembering that for sure.
We're going with it. Call it for him, Paulie. Call it for Jeff.
I gotta wait to see what the Electoral College does first before I'm willing to concede that. Well, I know I lost. Okay, there's no doubt about it.
You've conceded.
I'm calling me a loser on this. It's up to you and Jared to concede as well.
I have. I'm saying, and Jared has too. It's yours.
And
Jeff.
Jared
You
said
win.
he was pretty far off. Okay, Jeff, we're giving it to you.
Okay. I'm not gonna claim it until I go back and listen to the tape from last week.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and listen to last week's broadcast because I think it was near the end there, and see what it is, and then certainly you can have your conciliatory.
I'll update in the article tomorrow if I did.
There you go.
Figure it out.
We will read that. We will read that to see that for sure.
So my prediction for tomorrow, EKU got housed by Indiana last week, or earlier this week. The Hoosiers scored 100, I think. Yeah,
Oof.
100-51. I don't think Louisville's going to score 100, especially if they can't find a bucket from the arc. I'm going to stick with a pretty similar scoring prediction as I did for last week. I'm going to say 83 for Louisville, but I don't know that EKU scores many more than they did against Indiana. So I'm going to say Louisville wins 83-54.
So you're going 83-54. That's very close to Jared's pick of 85-55.
Wow, I wasn't listening to Jared, so it's going to be a barn burner if it's close to that.
Yeah.
It's going to give you some wiggle room there. They're on him a little bit there. As for me, I think the Cards are still working out a few things. I'm not sure, obviously, whether Kiana Smith will be available for this one or not. And I still think Louisville's got a little more gelling to do. Indiana is a very good team this year, and I'm not surprised at all how well they did because they got some excellent talent. I'm glad we're not playing Indiana this year. I'll say that again. Very glad. So I'm going to go with, I'm going to say 71-45.
Okay. Defensive battle, huh?
Yeah, I'm not seeing this. He's going to play 11, maybe 12 players.
Yeah.
Going to have a lot of people shuffling in and out of there. Dana will probably get 30 plus. Maybe he sees Haley clear for 30 plus, and possibly
You're
Olivia
talking
Cochran
minutes here, not points, right?
Yeah, minutes, not points. Yeah, just to make that clear, minutes.
Dana might score 30. I don't know.
Yeah, she's very possible. I think Haley probably is pretty possible for that as well.
Dana's got the motivation to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. After her performance against SEMO here, I think she's probably saying to herself, I can and I must do better than that.
Mm-hmm.
So even though, hey, I'll take 15 points out of Dana all year long. Give them to me right now. Guarantee you lock me in on them. That's fine. But maybe she'll burst that and do more. I'm calling it 71-45. So I've got all these written down on a piece of paper that I will promise to lose within 48 hours. And we will scramble for that again next week when the show comes on. But that's the way that goes. So on Kiana Smith, certainly we hope that she's okay. We hope that she's doing well. We hope that she'll be able to dress and play. It just all depends on whether it was tracing or actual COVID, I suppose. ACC got off to a very good start Wednesday, guys. We might as well mention that as well. In the 11 games that involved ACC schools, they went a sparkling 10-1. As FSU got canceled, they were due to play Florida A&M, but had games that were won in the W columns of Boston College. Rolled over New Hampshire. Pittsburgh handled George Mason pretty easily. Georgia Tech demolished Georgia State. Duke beat up on Longwood pretty
Their men
well.
didn't.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the men's game was a little rough there, wasn't it? Yeah. Miami and Jacksonville, a battle of the other ends of Florida against each other. Miami took that one pretty convincingly. UNC had no trouble with Radford. North Carolina State beat North Florida pretty convincingly. Clemson, a big win over Furman. Glad to see the Clemson program start out with actually 2 wins because they did beat Presbyterian yesterday, too.
Yeah, by even more.
Virginia Tech minus Dana Mabry, who's now at Notre Dame, handled Richmond without much problem. And, of course, the Cards beating their opponent in southeastern Missouri. The lone loss was Virginia. They traveled down to Mouseville, then to Central Florida, and got it hammered to them pretty well.
34 points.
Oh.
It's 11 second half points there.
I mean, UCF is a decent team, but yeah, that's a beatdown.
So I don't know for sure whether everybody made the trip for Virginia or not. I didn't really do much more than look at the score and the leading scores and such and stuff in it. But anytime you score 11 second half points, you better hope and pray it's a football game and not college basketball. Okay. And stuff that went on yesterday, we'll mention those quickly as well to Wake Forest. Went to Arkansas, or playing Arkansas in a game, got handled by Arkansas. Late in that one, Arkansas kind of pulled away from them. Wake Forest takes the loss there. Shall we talk about Notre Dame and Ohio? How about that? The Fighting Irish, although they were 3 starters short. Let's make sure we get that out there first. Against an Ohio team that I don't know how. If they were talented mid-major, they certainly boosted their stock yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Getting the upset over Notre Dame, a very, very good game by the Ohio Bobcats as they started out Nickel Ivy's career with a loss. So, and I think Syracuse is the last ACC team to play, and I believe they get their action started tomorrow when they go up against Stony Brook. So That will be it. ACC off to a very good start, guys. And any surprises in any of that there? I think the obvious one is Virginia losing
Yeah.
as much as it did. But I'm kind of proud of Clemson here.
Yeah, Clemson, good showing for them. Furman's not a terrible team. They're not like top of the league or anything, but they're not a bad team. So Clemson showing up, beating them solidly. Hopefully, some good news for the Tigers down there.
Ohio is picked to finish second in the MAC.
Wow,
that's
who's
not
top?
bad. Yeah, that's
Central
not
Michigan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
Sue Guevara's teams up there are always good.
Yeah, always a good team up there. Yeah.
Sue's got a good team, but yeah. So actually, Notre Dame maybe had their hands a little more busier than they thought they might be going in there. I mean, no, face it. If we were to play somebody minus 3 starters right now in our first game of the year,
A good mid-major like Ohio. Yeah, we might have been in some trouble too.
for the grace of God go us, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of depth, but it would certainly be, it would impact, certainly.
I mean, I wouldn't want to play anybody right now without Dana Evans, Haley Van Lith, and Liz Dixon, just to name 3 off the top of my head, okay? That could be pretty kind of dicey.
Yeah, I think we could still be a very competitive team without those 3, but it would be tough. It would certainly be tougher.
I agree with you, too. There'd be some extra digging involved there, pulling out a W out of that pile. We'll see what happens tomorrow with the Cards. I think that one of the things I'll be looking for is to see how long Olivia Cochran's in there. I mean, she actually drew the start. So that's one thing I'll be looking forward to see if she does again. And another thing that I'll be looking forward to see is whether our 3-point shooting can return. Because anytime you go over a half,
that'll be the big one. I think is what's the story going to be there for this season? You gotta think it comes back, but if it doesn't, it could be a long year.
The men's team certainly couldn't find it yesterday, so Yum Center might not be open for business quite yet.
Let's hope that the women can go in there and warm those rims up a little bit, because the men certainly had some trouble with it yesterday. We'll see how it happens with that as the Cards roll on. ACC Network Extra, I think, is the viewing venue on this, if I
Yep, that's correct.
correct in that. So my guy at the communications company I've got here was telling me that, guess what? You can watch ESPN Plus on your television. I said, no, I can't. He goes, oh, yes, you can. Here's what you do on your smart TV. I said, that's where I've got you. My TV's stupid. It's not smart.
I have a dumb TV.
My TV can't even walk across. Well, I don't have a smart TV. And he said, oh, never mind then.
Yeah.
ACC Network Extra. And from what I understand, we're going to have our old buddies back in there calling this one, guys. Don Russell will be behind the microphone for the internet feed on it, along with Sarah White. So I don't know if they'll actually be on site. My guess is they may not be. Nick Carroll, of course, and AJ will be doing the radio call for it. And so let's hope the Cards do quite well up there in their first home game of the 2021 schedule.
Yep.
Hopefully many more to come. Yes. Guys, hey, we have rolled through almost a full hour here of this broadcast. Things moving pretty well. I know we did it all on basketball, so I'm very proud of us for being able to do that without too much backtracking. Maybe we can just kind of, at this point in time, roll into some final thoughts. Jeff, since you're the disputed in many states but acknowledged winner of the contest, we'll go ahead and let you start out with our final thought.
Just a shout out to Caitlin Donnelly, who is maybe not a name you know, but Caitlin Mann might strike some remembrance from the softball team.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. She is in week 40 of pregnancy. So her little one is about to join the world. If not on its own volition, will be on Monday thanks to medical science. So best of wishes to her. And good luck, and I hope everybody is safe and healthy. And shout out to her for she's a lot of fun. It's been great to know a little bit over the years. So Yeah.
Absolutely. Caleb was a fantastic softball player back in the day, and certainly a great personality as well. So,
Yeah. What a character she is.
yes, she was indeed, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Family of Man. There you go. It's an old Three Dog Night song, by the way.
That's right.
The Family started. Jared did text in some final thoughts here. We'll get those to you real quick. He's excited to be back in the KFC Yum Center tomorrow, and he is curious to see what it will feel like to be there in person. I won't be there tomorrow, so he will be representing the Cardinal Couple crew there.
Yep.
Along with the many other things that he does. I may even ask him if he wants to do the write-up, so we'll see how that works up so well.
Okay.
My final thoughts, I'm going to let Case go last. My final thoughts on this are is if you are going to attend that game tomorrow, certainly do follow the precautions and the requirements. From what I understand from the reporters that were there for the men's game yesterday, that the usher staff was escorting people out that were failing to follow the mask policy. So certainly, if you
should have talked to Dino Gaudio.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe they could have thrown him out too. But if you're up there in the seats and the guys come by and tell you to put your mask on, you can probably rest assured they're not going to tell you twice the second time you're going to be out there. So hey, it's only an hour and a half, 2 hours. You can do this. It's easy. It's a duck suit. Go ahead and wear the mask, okay? You're not only protecting yourself, but you might be protecting somebody else too. So that's important stuff.
Yep.
All right, Case, I've got that out of the way. What you got for me?
A mini rant. It's a good thing you let me go last, I guess. Or maybe you shouldn't have, so that you could end on a better note. But NCAA, figure out what you're doing. Like, it doesn't make sense. Everyone on Twitter yesterday was mad. What Gonzaga did was unfair and reckless, and Mark Few acknowledged that they had positive tests right before they went out and played Auburn, and it doesn't make sense. If you're going to shut down programs for 14 days for a grad assistant testing positive that doesn't have contact with the team, then when you have an actual player test positive, then you have to apply that fairly. UConn's missing the entire beginning of their season, but Cincinnati's still scheduled to play next Saturday. Newsflash, December 5th is within 14 days of November 25th, so I don't know how that works. They just have to figure out what they're going to do and apply it the same for everybody. And that's just the way it has to be. If you're going to cry poor and say you have to have this season because you have to get to an NCAA tournament because you're going to go broke without it, then make everybody follow the rules to help you get there. And not even pointing out the health risks that are associated with it. If you're looking at it from purely basketball standpoint, then you can't apply this haphazardly and it not make sense. So once again, the NCAA failing at something that they've claimed that they have some expertise in. Surprise.
Yeah. In case, I'm going to just say you're asking the NCAA to do something that they've never been able to do in the past 100 years to make sense out of anything.
Apply any rule the same to multiple schools. They can't do that at all.
So your request is a little lofty here, pal. I wish you the best of luck with that. I've got some nice land in Florida that's undeveloped. I'd like to move in on this deal as well. Okay. So we will catch you all next week, same time here, unless you know something we don't. Until then, Jared has left the bank. He's going to sing us from his car phone. No, he's not going to do that. We're just going to say, everybody stay safe, wash your hands. We hope to catch you here next week here at the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast.